Topic 6. System, structure, and environment of international organizations. Relationships. The purpose of the seminar, to study the content and interaction of the basic categories of the theory of international relations. The main provisions of the 1. System approach, the direction of the methodology of scientific research, which is based on the consideration of a complex object as an integral set of elements in the totality of relations and connections between them. It is considered that the systematic approach becomes the property of the science of Assauri since the mid-50s of the Acts century. Its widespread coincided with the penetration into social disciplines of the achievements of the scientific and technical revolution and in particular, with the use of computers. 3. Basic concepts of system theory according to L. Bertalanffy. A. The initial concept in system theory is the concept of system which L. Ron Bertalanffy defines as a set of elements that interact with each other. B. Another concept, elements it as the simplest components of the system. 4. The concept of a system in the field of international relations is used very often. However, there is no unity regarding this concept. At the same time, we must not lose sight of the fact that the application of a systematic approach has become one of the hallmarks of the penetration of sociology into the sphere of international relations, and therefore the harbinger of the birth of a new scientific discipline. 5. General features of international relations and international systems. 1. International relations. Specific features of international relations. 1. Lack of supreme power. 2. Pluralism of sovereignties. 3. Low level of external and internal centralization. 7. The understanding of the specifics of international relations and, accordingly, the features of international systems is different, hence the difference in approaches to their study. There are traditional historical, sociological, heuristic, mixed and empirical approaches. Their selection is conditional and by no means mutually exclusive, reflecting only the priorities and the positions of a particular author. 8. To denote diplomatic relations between states in a particular historical period, in a particular region, the traditional historical approach uses the concept of international system, for example, the European system of the Hawaii century, based on the principles of the Treaty of Westphalia of 1648, the system of political equilibrium of European states, European concert of nations, of the X century, the global bipolar interstate system of 1945, 1990 Is. 9. R. Aaron, one of the founders of the historical and sociological approach to the study of international relations, makes historical experience the starting point of his research, avoiding the construction of abstract models. 10. Kaplan believes that only historical data is not enough for theoretical generalizations. Based on general systems theory and systems analysis, he constructs abstract theoretical models that would help to better understand international reality. 11. The American scientist R. Rosecrans attempted to synthesize historical sociological and heuristic approaches. Based on the study of specific historical situations, he identifies 9 consecutive international systems corresponding to the following historical periods: 1740, 1789, 1789, 1814, 18,141,822, 1822, 1848, 1848, 1871, 1871, 1888, 1888, 1918, 19,181,945 and 1945, 1960. 12. The empirical approach is so named because it studies the interactions that actually exist in the practice of international relations within certain geographical Different approaches regions. To the systematic study of international relations lead to differences in the typologies of international systems. Such researchers as F. Breyer M.R., Shalili S. Hoffman M., Nicholson and others were engaged in determining the types of international systems. They identified international systems: general, planetary, global, regional, sub-regional, economic, political, military, strategic, etc. The object of the study is also stable and unstable, conflict and cooperative, open and closed international systems. In addition, there are autonomous, chaotic, completely random, completely deterministic, structured systems. 14. Followers of political realism adhere to the classification of international systems as bipolar, multipolar, equilibrium and imperial. The bipolar system is dominated by 2 of the most powerful states. If other powers achieve comparable power, the system is transformed into a multipolar one. In an equilibrium system, or balance of power system, several large states retain roughly the same influence on the course of events, curbing each other's excessive claims. Finally, in the international system of the imperial type is dominated by the only superpower, ahead of all other states in its aggregate strength, size of territory, level of weapons, economic potential, reserves of natural resources, etc. 15. On the basis of political realism, Kaplan builds his famous typology of international systems, which includes 6 types of systems, most of which is hypothetical. The structure of the Asauri system can be characterized as a special way of communication between its member states and other actors, which naturally arises in the process of its functioning and development. The structure of the international system expresses the links between the elements of the system that ensure its stability. Of great importance is the nature of the existing ties and relations between the leading powers in this historical period. However, most influences or compulsions arise not from the existence of the system as such, but from the relationship between it and its environment. 17. The concept of environment is one of the fundamental concepts in systems analysis. It has an important methodological value, helping to understand the functioning of the system and its evolution. In its most general form, the environment of a system is what surrounds it. However, such a general definition does not give much without further specification, in the course of which it becomes clear that in relation to both social and natural systems, there is not only an external, but also an internal environment. Consider separately the social environment, cumulative impacts, the origin of which is associated with ASU's threats to human and public relations, and social environment, diversity of the natural environments, geographical features, distribution of natural resources, existing natural boundaries, etc. 18. Features of the environment of international relations. It is quite easy to imagine the system, environment and structure of interstate, for example, regional relations. The structure of the European Union can be defined as a way of organizing the economic, diplomatic, military, political, cultural and other interaction of the 27 member states. The environment in relation to the EU will be a set of other states, as well as various international organizations and other actors at the regional, geographical, European, political, union, economic, OD, and other levels. Each of the elements of this environment has a different impact on the functioning and development of the EU system. The result of this will be both the changes taking place in the system and the responses to these influences from the non-social environment. The role of geopolitics in the science of international relations. The first and most general definition qualifies geopolitics as the study of the interrelationships and interdependencies between the power policy of a state and the geographical environment within which it is implemented. Geopolitics has undoubtedly had and continues to have an impact on the international strategy of states and their governments, as well as on the study of international relations. 21. Globalization of the international environment. In recent years, the topic of globalization has become one of the most widespread not only in the theory of international relations, but also in all social sciences. Each of them, of course, focuses on those features of globalization that are most closely related to the object of its research. Nevertheless, 3 important circumstances should be noted. First, if other disciplines interpret globalization as absolutely not a new phenomenon, then from the standpoint of the science of international relations, this conclusion does not look so unambiguous. Secondly, international political science, which claims to be synthetic, seeks to absorb and generalize the achievements and conclusions of all other social disciplines. Third, the consequence of its deep internal heterogeneity and the inherent rivalry of different traditions, paradigms and trends is the lack of unity in the interpretation of globalization. Thus, the impact that the environment has on the modern international system looks rather ambiguous. One of the results of such an impact is a sharp increase in the interdependence of all aspects of human communication. However, these factors are accompanied by uneven growth of productive forces in different countries.